We know even our social media and our website, the busiest time is on Sundays after church. And we know that that's because people are really trying to figure out what is true and right and how do I love my kid.
Howdy, Sarah Cunningham here. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the founder of Free Mom Hugs.
And I'm Katrina Cobb. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the program director and social media manager for Free Mom Hugs. And we are part of an amazing team.
Our mission at Free Mom Hugs is to empower the world to celebrate the LGBTQIA+ community through visibility, education, and conversation.
And in our first season of the Free Mom Hugs podcast, we're focusing on Pride 365, keeping queer kids alive.
This is our first brand new Dream Come True episode. We'll be sharing Free Mom Hug stories and the journey that got us here to recording the very first Free Mom Hugs Pride 365 Keeping Queer Kids Alive podcast. We want to take a minute to shout out to our leaders and volunteers in every state. They are the example of devotion to celebrating Pride and the LGBTQ+ community 365 days a year. You know, we would not be making the impact across the country without them. They are truly a life-saving force.
Chasten Buttigieg was asked on an elevator at our Love Revolution conference, "What is Free Mom Hugs?" He responded simply, "It's a group of moms keeping queer kids alive."
Dear friends, if you find yourself needing support and someone to talk to, please don't hesitate to call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, or reach out to our friends at the Trevor Project at thetrevorproject.org. And remember, you are not alone. If God created the night and the day and the dawn, of course, and the dusk, and the tangerine rose-pink sunset, and the infant bright of morning, and the deep amethyst twilight, then to perceive the world in binary is to forego knowledge of the divine. By David Gate.
Sarah, I can't believe we are finally doing a podcast. This has been a dream of ours for so long. We've talked about it forever. How are you feeling? Are you nervous?
I'm hyperventilating. And I know I say that all the time, but I promise you, I'm truly hyperventilating. And I'm so nervous, but you know, more than that, I'm excited to tell stories because I know they're powerful. And I get excited, I get emotional, but sometimes I let a cuss word slip.
Like you love Jesus, but you cuss a little?
Yes. Like, and so we need a safe word. And I thought about Cliff, our programs director of the podcast, if you will. So he's going to be monitoring my language.
You know, when Carrie first came to us, I think she was in a lot of shock, didn't realize that she was walking into a bunch of sailors. But you know that when she gets upset, she might say a word or two.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think we ruined her.
We might have. Mm-hmm. But we know she's mad when she says someone is a butthole. Or if something comes across the desk and she says, "This is bull crap."
Bull crap.
Yeah.
Hey, I asked my mom in the 5th grade if I could say bull crap. But Carrie, you know, she's so good. And so, I mean, I think she's an angel.
Yeah. We needed her. Carrie did an amazing job since she joined us in 2020.
2020, what a year that was. That was an era in the life of Free Mom Hugs.
Yes, an era it was. Oh, and speaking of eras, have you seen Taylor Swift? Sarah, come on. You got to be with it.
No, I live under a rock.
Oh, well, listen, you need to.
I do.
It's important. But Taylor Swift is someone that I kind of tried, this sounds bad, I tried not to like her because she was so famous and popular. But honestly, she makes such a big difference, and she uses her platform, and she goes against the grain. She ruffled feathers.
She's a rebel rouser.
Kind of like you.
Oh, Okay, so first of all, I almost said error for era, but there's no errors in era because you learn. And when I think about the errors and the eras that have happened since 2020, I mean, wow.
Man, that's good.
We got a lot to share.
We know the world is watching Taylor Swift, and we also know the world is watching Free Mom Hugs.
And to think it all started from making a post about being a stand-in mom at gay weddings.
Right. You and I did not sit down and decide we wanted to plan a nonprofit. It all really literally fell into our lap. And the world is watching us now, and we have a lot of eras to discuss. But let's start at the beginning. Sarah, what's good on social media these days?
Free Mom Hugs. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And you know, we have a YouTube channel too that has all of our videos and panels. And our website is full of valuable information that helps people on their journey, whether they're an LGBTQ person or the parent of an LGBTQ person. You can also find ways to get involved, donate, and purchase authentic Free Mom Hugs merchandise. Sarah, have you heard people call the OG Free Mom Hug shirt the billboard of Free Mom Hugs?
Yes, I love our logo. You know, it's recognized worldwide. And when people see someone in a Free Mom Hug shirt, whether it's at a Pride festival or the veterinary office or the post office, they know that they're with a safe person, and it sends a message that you are a strong and faithful ally. And I love that our merchandise supports the mission of Free Mom Hugs. The funds go directly to impact our programs. Each dollar reaches far and wide and makes a difference to the community that we serve.
Go to freemomhugs.org today.
Katrina, yes. We talked about hyperventilating, and I do tease about that. I probably shouldn't, but I really am truly excited to be able to share stories. And, you know, eventually we'll have some amazing guests on here to talk about the importance and the power of pride and what hope that gives to queer kids.
Right. I remember my first Pride, and I had, I was deep in the church, and so I had heard some pretty scary things about Pride and how evil Pride was and dangerous Pride was. And when I had the courage to go to my first one, it was amazing that it was community and safe and family. And I feel like that's what Free Mom Hugs brings. What about your first Pride, Sarah?
My first Pride was lit. No. In all seriousness, you know what? I was thinking about this when we, thought about this question for the podcast, and I started getting emotional. Because my first Pride, I was still kind of on the fence between non-affirming and affirming.
Oh, that's right.
Do I, and it was a journey. But I remember before going to Pride, our son Parker invited my husband and I to go. And I didn't understand Pride and the history and the significance of it. And so I prayed for God's favor there, that I would see God there. And I could have Googled it. I could have Googled the history. Did I? No, because I wanted to see God's favor there. I needed to see the Lord there. And I'm going to go deep here, but I got there, and there were so many pivotal moments, but the most profound to me is that at the end of the parade, when everyone's just kind of entering into the street, and it's beautiful. We're talking rainbow banners, and we're standing right across the Goodwill thrift store.
Yep, 39th Street, Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and it was beautiful, and, my family was there, and these beautiful people. I mean, you talk about diversity, just beautiful. And I looked to the heavens, and I said, thank you, God, that I have been changed. I'm the one changed. Where prior to that, I thought maybe I would go in and have a Bible study or praise and worship with these people. No, I was the one changed. And from that moment, I began to see this community as beautiful, spirit-filled, gift to this world. So my first Pride, I'll never forget that moment. And, stepping off from there, I had preconceived ideas too. I thought, these people are not swinging from the chandelier.
Right.
I learned things about the leather community that just changed my perspective. Whereas before I would have thought,
right. They make us be afraid of differences, and especially in America, I think afraid of sexuality. And so it's amazing to get into an environment where it's normalized and comfortable and free, and then you kind of don't worry about it as much anymore.
Right.
Yep. So tell us about, you made a homemade button the next year. Am I right?
That.
Oh, yeah. The start of it all. Where did that button come from, Sarah?
Well, after that, we need to back up just a little bit, because after that first Pride, I started getting plugged into the community, like volunteering at the Second Chance Prom or the Clothing Closet, and volunteering for the Pride board there on 39th Street. That was the first board I ever served on. What an experience. So, but I started meeting the community and hearing their stories about how they had been alienated. And when I say they, I mean the LGBTQ plus community.
Right.
How they had been alienated from their families, from their church homes, from many parts of society. And I started getting educated on laws that affect the community in a very, very dangerous, harmful ways. So I became accountable, and just hearing about how they missed the connection with their family. And so I made that homemade button that said "Free Mom Hugs." Now, I'm not the first mom to offer hugs at a Pride festival, but I made a homemade button. And with anyone who made eye contact with me at the 2015 Oklahoma City Pride Festival, I said, "Could I offer you a hug or a high five?" And the first hug I gave went to a beautiful young woman who said it had been 4 years since she had a hug from her mother because she's a lesbian. And I don't want to get too far ahead, but that was the beginning. From that experience started the nonprofit Free Mom Hugs.
And I remember seeing you, meeting you, but getting to know the other parents that were with you as well. And you all were so full of love. And I remember that if someone maybe was in an abusive relationship and needed to get out, that you all would pull money together to get a hotel room. Or if someone needed to get to a safe family member, you all would get your money and you would get a bus ticket. You gave gas cards. You bought groceries for kids that were living in their cars because they had been rejected and were just surviving. And it's amazing that from that organic start, we now have this big national nonprofit and are sitting here making a podcast. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, it's like, when the church days, when you're in a fellowship, you hear of a need and, you feel it.
Yep,
if
you
it's
meet it.
helping someone get their dentistry work done, or, helping with the cell phone bill, whatever the fellowship did. And that's what us moms did. There was probably 2 or 3 of us at any given time, and we'd hear a need, and if we didn't have it, we'd find someone who did. And it might be $5 here or a bus ticket there. I'm getting emotional.
I know. That's your heart. And that heart is still alive in Free Mom Hugs.
Yeah. And I have to say, one of the, there's a lot of profound moments, but we met a transgender woman who was in an abusive relationship. She was out of Arkansas. And I won't mention names or anything because I want to keep her safe, but she needed a safe place, and we heard about her. And so we got her from Arkansas, and we put her up in Oklahoma City. We have the gay district. If you Google it, you can find it, and it's really remarkable. It's a huge piece of the history here in Oklahoma City, but there's a Havana Inn, formerly, but they would give us special room rates.
That's right.
Because that was the only place perhaps this transgender beautiful girl could have stayed. So it really is a remarkable story when I think about it.
It's amazing to me, the basic, simple mission of Free Mom Hugs meets a very basic and simple need that people just need to be loved and taken care of. And sadly, that doesn't always happen, and that's where Free Mom Hugs has stepped in the past, and hopefully we continue to step in. I remember in 2016, I was a part of a affirming church here in Oklahoma City named Church of the Open Arms. It's the first affirming church in Oklahoma City, and that is a big deal. And they had a food pantry, and we did a fundraiser there. And that was in 2016, so it was election season. And I had heard of this hugging lady. And I thought, who better to have at this event? And I hadn't met you or anything. That was it. And it was amazing to me to watch adults come up to your table and kind of cautiously wonder if you were serious, for one. Did you actually give hugs? And when you said yes, to see grown adults just fall into your arms. And the phrase that we have all of our volunteers say and think is, don't let go until they do. And I saw that happen. And I saw grown men not let go for a while because the basic need is a hug, and the basic need is celebration and being affirming. And, we say we don't replace anybody's mom. That's not what we do, but we stand in and we are with them on the journey, hopefully, and we see a lot. Moms come around, and you're a mom that came around.
Yeah.
And we celebrate that.
Yeah. We're always hopeful that parents come around, but until they do, we do whatever we can to be that loving presence in the lives of those who need it the most. And the good news is that people want to do something. And that's all a part of the mission of Free Mom Hugs, is that we offer a platform for people to show up.
Right.
And do something. And it's profound and it's simple. As simple as a hug.
Right.
And in Free Mom Hugs, we call that the spark, because that lights the fire.
Right. Every volunteer, every leader we have, they can tell you that story of when they have that spark of when they realize how powerful this is and how important it is.
You mentioned the 2016 luncheon. Don't we wish? What a buffet. Great, now I'm hungry. Okay. So,
Cliff.
but it was the 2016 election, and I remember exactly where I was, who was with me. And we just started hearing great fear and anxiety from the community. And by this time, we had a Free Mom Hugs banner. There were about 4 moms that were consistent in showing up. And so I made a social media post that said, look, we're going to be down on 39th Street. We're going to be there offering hugs. And please, we're going to be there from like 7 to 9 or whatever. And so we did. We met down there at spur of the moment. We met down there. And, we had people coming out of the bars. We had cars lined up to get hugs.
Yeah, people pulled off the side of the road to come and get a hug from you. And then they would jump back in their car and take off. They didn't even say a word. They just needed a hug, and then they went.
That was a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Beautiful moment. I have a picture from that night. I'll never forget it. But I don't want to get too far ahead, but I have to tell the story, because that night I went home and I was like, I don't want to say distraught, but it was like, Lord, what can I do? And I laid in my bed and I was praying, God, what can I do? And I heard a small, still voice say, girl, well, you got that banner. And I thought, I'm going to walk that banner to Washington, D.C.
Yes,
like
you did.
Forrest Gump.
Yep.
And I told my friends before I told my husband, but the next morning I was having coffee with Rex. I said, babe, I'm going to walk that Free Mom Hugs banner to Washington, D.C. And he said, Sarah, it would take you 3 days just to get to Tulsa. And I thought, yeah, you're probably right.
Yes, yes.
So anyway, that's what started the very first Free Mom Hugs tour. And rather than make a political statement out of it, we wanted to make a humanitarian effort. And that's where the tour began. We always leave from 39th Street, and we would travel to a site that's significant to the LGBTQ plus community. And we have stops along the way, luncheons, and I'm probably getting too far ahead of the story here, but that's how the tour started, was from the 2016 election. And what a redemption the tour has been.
What was amazing to me about the tours that we did for 4 years, 5 years actually, one of them was virtual. We'll get to that later. But the tour would also end on Mother's Day at that significant location. And I think something, again, that people don't realize is that Mother's Day is a hard holiday for the LGBTQ community if you don't have an affirming mother. And it shows how important that date is. So that was always significant for us, too, that wherever we landed was on Mother's Day, so that it wasn't that we would be celebrated as mothers, but that we would go to those kids that were missing out on that day and feeling that void on that day.
The very first tour was with myself and Laura Beth, and we had like 100-foot RV. And we drove from Oklahoma City to the Stonewall Inn. And Laura Beth applied for a permit to have an event at Christopher Park there right in front of the Stonewall Inn. She was the first person to receive a permit to host an event at Christopher Park. And she's part of the transgender community. I mean, think about it.
Yep.
You can't make that up.
Right.
So we met at Christopher Park at the Stonewall Inn, and again, we had luncheons along the way with civic, faith, and business leaders where we would share our stories and the story of Free Mom Hugs. And then in the evening time, we would find the gay district wherever we were, and we would offer hugs. And So the first tour was the tour of beginnings, and that was to the Stonewall Inn. And listen, confessions here, true confessions. I was in my 40s before I understood the significance of a little gay bar in New York City called the Stonewall Inn.
Right.
That's how sheltered and, I use the term respectfully, but ignorant I was.
I have been so grateful and have loved that I have relearned. I have unlearned and relearned so much. And I think that's the beauty of Free Mom Hugs as well, is that it gives us the opportunity for all of us to get reprogrammed and hopefully be better humans because of it.
Oh, gosh, I hope so. I say it all the time. I'm so glad to be on this side of the story. And you deconstruct and then you reconstruct.
Right.
And what I thought I experienced within the fellowship and the fellowship of believers at the church that we were involved in for 20 years, I experienced so much more to a greater degree. Like I experienced God and what I believe is the power of the Holy Spirit and the essence of humanity. And what a beautiful dynamic in human sexuality and orientation that has just been dumbed down.
Right. 2017 was the first tour, and then your next tour was in 2018, and that was with Parker. You all went to Laramie, Wyoming, to visit the site where Matthew Shepard was killed, and his death is very pivotal for the LGBTQ plus community, and that was the very beginning of hate crime legislation. And I know that was important for you as a mom and important for Parker as a gay man, and you both had different reasons for that.
What I love about that tour is that, number one, I got to spend some time with Parker. But the significance of Matthew Shepard and the story of his life and death really changed the way America talks about and handles hate crimes. So it really was a tour of facing our fears because, you know, the Matthew Shepard story is every mother with a gay kid's worst nightmare. And so that journey was a hard one. But I will tell you, the film crew from the Mama Bear doc was with us. And at the end of filming, we were at the site where Matthew Shepard was found. But at the end of that day, we get back to our hotel, and we're outside kind of unloading the car, and there's a rainbow. It's like to me, it was just a sign. I've seen and spent time with Judy Shepard, Matthew's mom, incredible, strong, powerful, profound woman doing amazing work through the Matthew Shepard Foundation. And in fact, she just won an award.
I know, that was amazing. I think all of us in any kind of LGBTQ activism, we all were so excited and thrilled to watch her get the Presidential Medal of Freedom, I believe.
Yeah,
and she inspires so many, and we're grateful for her.
Bittersweet for sure.
Right. So the 2019 tour, that was the Tour of Hope, and you and I went on that one. And the main purpose of that was to discuss conversion therapy. And, you know, part of what Free Mom Hugs does is we tell stories, and that's what makes change easier instead of, you know, yelling at people to do better.
Yeah.
You just let them get to know people, and then they do better on their own. And that's part of what we did. We went to, we called it the Tour of Hope because we love Harvey Milk.
Inspired.
And if you don't know Harvey Milk, you need to Google. And our destination was the Castro on Mother's Day in San Francisco. And that was an amazing time as well. And so many good speaking opportunities.
I remember, I'll never forget coming over that hill on the Castro and seeing the streets are lined with pride flags, and there's just beautiful people, you know, same-sex couple holding hands. It just was a beautiful space.
It was
really
amazing.
Beautiful.
And we saw that giant flag, and I don't know if you have seen, and not to get political, but here in our home state, there is a fight to ban the pride flag, which is absurd. And so now they're trying to get the pride flag in the Castro as a national monument so that it can never be touched and protected. And so that's pretty amazing.
I'd vote for that.
Yeah.
I'd vote for that.
Yeah. From there, Free Mom Hugs took off. 2019 was crazy incredible. This is when we got recognized by celebrities, and including one in particular that some folks might know. But you got a message on your phone from one Jamie Lee Curtis, or who you thought was Jamie Lee Curtis. How did that go?
Well, you know, the stand-in post went viral, and we were just getting messages and private messages, and it was really quite remarkable. But one particular message said, "Hey, this is Jamie Lee Curtis. I saw the post and it's trending, and I would just love to hear more about what inspired that. And I responded like, I'm going to pray that I'm not getting catfished, and then I'll call you, because she gave me her number. And so we talked a little bit back and forth on private messenger, and finally we had a phone call. And it was really her. And she was just lovely and such a generous person. But she said that was the epitome of love, to offer a stand-in, to be a stand-in mom like that.
Right.
And we've been, just communicating ever since, and just a remarkable woman and a great ally.
Yes. And I think, to me, she's a great example of what Free Mom Hugs does accidentally. And Jamie Lee Curtis had a trans child, and even in conversating with you, she did not reveal that to you. But the process of observing and watching, and then when Ruby was ready, then Jamie Lee as a mom could be ready. And we see that all the time, that people are kind of watching from a distance. And we know even our social media and our website, the busiest time is on Sundays after church. And we know that that's because people are really trying to figure out what is true and right, and how do I love my kid.
In conversations with Jamie, she alluded to, but I never knew. She never confided that with me until she made the statement.
Right.
And what I love about what Jamie Lee Curtis said that was made public is that, to quote, "We watched in pride and wonder."
Yeah.
As Ruby made that transformation, and that saved lives, no
Yes.
doubt. But I'll never forget that line. I think it was the most beautiful thing you could say about watching your child become authentically themselves. And but I didn't know until she and I were on a podcast that she learned from Free Mom Hugs,
Right.
or was inspired by Free Mom Hugs.
Right.
Anywho. Great experience, yeah.
Yes, amazing. And we definitely felt like 2020 was going to be our banner year. The Mama Bear doc was coming out. We had Jamie Lee Curtis talking about a movie. We had chapters in all 50 states. We were getting amazing funding from people that supported what we did and loved us. And we really thought 2020 was going to be it for Free Mom Hugs. And January was pretty amazing. And February was pretty awesome. But then March 13th happened.
That was on a Friday the 13th.
It was Friday the 13th, and the plug got pulled. And
Well,
to be honest,
yeah.
TBH, we panicked, because you have to think, we are a nonprofit that is based on physical touch. And all of a sudden, you're 6 feet apart, and you're masked, and you're not going anywhere. You're quarantined. And we had to pivot. And pivot we did.
we did.
We did. We
did
figured
the
out.
do-si-do.
We went beyond Skype, and we figured out Instagram Live, and we figured out podcasts.
You did.
And friends. And then we were like, the tour is amazing and powerful, and we wanted to go to Washington, D.C. in 2020 to make an impact, and now we couldn't go anywhere. So we decided to have the virtual tour.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
That was fun, though. But listen, back to Friday the 13th of March. You have to know, maybe some people don't know, but listen, Jamie Lee Curtis is so generous. She made a donation to Free Mom Hugs so I could quit my job of 20 years and work full-time for Free Mom Hugs. I had just created an office in a spare bedroom.
Yeah.
I was sitting at my desk, and all the news is coming in about this COVID thing, and it's like, oh my God. And so I'm sitting there, just quit my job.
Right.
Fresh paint on the bedroom wall. And I'm going, man, I thought we were going into warp speed.
Right.
And so we did. We had to get creative. But man, I think we did amazing.
I know. That's one of...
Not we, but collectively as a
Right.
team. There's it's not just me and Katrina here. There was Carrie, and we have a team, volunteers that really turned that around. And listen, talking about social media, the power of social media, people might give it a bad rap, but I love social media. I love the power. And it's not just because I went viral, because I know the connections that are made there, the healing and the inspiration and the validation that comes from conversations that are made on social media.
Right, right. We learned so much, and I hate to use the phrase that all things work for good, because sometimes it doesn't always feel like that. But the truth is, what we learned during COVID has changed the organization for the better. What's that phrase? Necessity is the mother of invention. And I believe that that's what we did. That was what the pivot was. And even in that, one of the things we did was care packages. And one of your original friends, one of our original founding board members, Jan, she was sending her son care packages during COVID so that he would feel loved and connected because everyone was missing each other so much. And we took her example and we decided to create care packages and send them to LGBTQ people across the country because we couldn't hug anyone. And we knew that the isolation was really hurting people. And we thought, if anything, let's send a hug, even if we can't give a hug. Yeah. And that is something, a part of our programs that we still do to this day. And another thing is our Pride rides. I think that's one of your favorite things.
Well, we have a national Pride ride on Harvey Milk's birthday, or surrounded, around his birthday to honor him, because he was a man that says, we got to give him hope. We got to give him hope. And in the time of COVID, again, we would just get in our cars, we would decorate, we would blow balloons or honk our horn and just let the community know wherever they are that we're still here. We're not going anywhere, and we're celebrating them. So even though 2020 felt like a disaster, it also gave us a lot of really good tools that, lessons learned that really fit our mission statement. And I love our mission statement. I'm going to say it again. We empower the world to celebrate the LGBTQ plus community through visibility, education, and conversation. Because those are the things that changed my mind, my heart, my understanding about what it means to have a gay child and the community that we serve.
And that word celebrate is so important in the big scheme of things, but it's important to me even personally. I know that starting with you and doing social media and answering all those emails when we went viral and looking at all the comments on social media, that helped me get rid of my own internalized homophobia, to hear all these people celebrating us and me. And it was a very powerful healing experience. And I think what happens in our society is when someone finds out they have a child that's gay or transgender or non-binary, it's taken as bad news. Even in an affirming home, it becomes, what do we do now? And how do we tell certain family members? And I think what we do that's so powerful is showing and being the example of, it's good news. You get to celebrate. And we celebrate so much that we drive around the streets like crazy moms with flags and music and bubbles going, because we want you to feel celebrated. And that continues in what we do today.
I love that. We do celebrate. People think of free mom hugs going to Pride festivals. And yeah, it's a real celebration there. But, at the forefront of everything that we do is the Matthew Shepard stories, the conversion therapy stories that are haunting and still happening today. By the way, if you don't know what conversion therapy is, it's any therapy, practice, or prayer that would try to change a gay person into a straight person. It's dangerous and it's deadly. But the good news is people are finding out more and more about how harmful that is, and people are speaking up. They're learning how to celebrate their children, and that is what's going to change the social norm. And people learn from other people. When I saw people celebrate Parker, when I didn't know if I should, could, or would.
Right.
Or see him happy and healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
And even as an LGBTQ person, you don't feel like you're allowed to celebrate yourself. And so that was great too, to feel like you've got these people celebrating you. Sarah, one of your famous phrases is that we have seen the power of fear and ignorance, and we have seen the power of love and education. And I think that is something that is so powerful and important that we continue to do, and we will continue to do until the world doesn't need free mom hugs anymore. And that's why the phrase Pride 365 is so important, is that this isn't just one thing you do during Pride. This isn't one thing you do during Coming Out Day. Our leaders, our organization, our volunteers, allies across the country, it's an everyday process to reteach the world to celebrate and have Pride 365. Sarah, I would never say that you and I are tech savvy, but we definitely learned some lessons. I will also say We love our snail mail, and you get the privilege to check it every day in your Jeep. What do you love about it?
I love checking the snail mail. I call it snail mail, but it's a P.O. box. And what I love about it, because you never know what you're going to get.
Right.
It could be good. It could be bad. It could be... We received a snail mail, and this is what this person had to say. I had to share. I wore my new Free Mom Hug shirt for the first time last night to go to a concert. I got lots of compliments on the shirt, but one girl asked me about it, and I explained that we moms are here for the kids whose parents don't accept them. She was almost in tears and said, "Could I have a hug? My mom won't accept me." Of course I hugged her. And as she was leaving, she rushed to me and asked for one more hug. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah. That's the why.
That's the why.
Won't you stand up, won't you stand up, won't you
Stand up, stand
won't
up.
you
That's it for this episode of Pride 365, Keeping Queer Kids Alive from Free Mom Hugs.
This podcast is produced by our friends at Good Faith Media. Learn more at goodfaithmedia.org. Our music comes from Pond 5, and that vocal track you heard is Stand Up by our friend Heather Mae. Check out the show notes for more.
Join the Free Mom Hugs community at freemomhugs.org.
Where you can learn, connect, and be proud.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Free Mom Hugs.
Be sure to subscribe to this podcast, give us a like and rating, and tell your friends about it.
Stop what you're doing and let someone know you love them, even if it's yourself.